What's going on, everybody? It's Joel here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Reebok Speed 21 TR. Alright guys, so after a couple years hiatus, the Speed lineup is back with the 21 TRs. But I gotta be honest with you guys, it's just a Speed in name because these ones are very different than the last few iterations that we've had from the Speed TR lineup. These ones are more similar to the original Speed TRs that came out way back in the day in like 2014. That was like one of the first shoes that I ever reviewed. And then after that shoe came the Sprint TR and then the other Speed TRs, which to me were just like minimal nanos. They were just low to the ground, real light on cushioning, lower dropped nano shoes, and I really liked that about them. I thought that they were some of my favorite training shoes over the years. They never got that much traction in comparison to nanos, just because I think nanos just did everything just a little bit better, but there was a huge fan base for the Speed lineup. And being real straightforward, I don't think the 21 TRs are gonna really carry that fandom from the Speed lineup, because for all the reasons people liked the Speeds, the 21s are just, they just aren't the same. But first, let's talk about the construction of the shoe, which is a complete hodgepodge of different materials. There's like some felt kind of materials, there's a couple different kinds of meshes, there's like a synthetic leather toe cap. It is just, I feel like there's just too much going on this upper, and visually I can't get behind it. It just looks a little weird to me. And really, to be honest with you, it's just the toe cap that kills it for me. The toe cap just, it doesn't look like it belongs there. It's like a synthetic leather layered on top of all of these mesh materials that look like they're pretty modern. And then the toe cap gives it this like Reebok classic look. And for whatever reason, I just don't like it. Like, it does blend in like when you're real far away, but I mean, under the stock photos, it just doesn't look that great. And then in real life, it just doesn't look that great either. And like, I don't really see why you would need the synthetic leather upper at the toe box anyways. You could just put like a PU overlay or something on it, and I think that would just do the same thing. And it just doesn't look like a modern shoe. But otherwise, the upper fits pretty comfortable, it's breathable, it's pretty flexible. There's one predominant mesh that goes pretty much all around the shoe, and then there's like another mesh that goes down the middle. So from the top, kind of looks a little weird. From the side, you don't really notice it as much, but it just kind of is what it is. And then the vector is just layered on, like that PU material is just layered on to the top of the lateral and medial mesh, which I think is fine, and I think that should have been like the toe cap material. And then at the back part, you do have a TPU like heel clip. It's similar in the way that the Nano 11 has their heel clip. It's just not as big. On the other side, it's like a little bit thinner of a TPU. And then that extends out into the midfoot of the shoe, but it doesn't carry on into the midsole or the outsole. The outsole is just a different rubber material. And we'll get back to that in just one bit, but I want to talk about the Achilles heel of the shoe, which is the laces. Not particularly the actual laces, because those are okay, but the eyelets, because on one of my Speeds, during the first use, the top eyelet became undone. And I put that on my Instagram, and sure enough, it happened to a lot of other people as well. So this is a very worrying part of durability for the shoe, and it makes me just not want to recommend it in the first place, because all it is it's just glued in, and that glue is really, really loose on the side of the shoe. I don't expect these to hold up very well over time at all. There's actually, on one of my shoes, one of the panels is like almost completely unglued. Let's see, yeah, right here. So this panel is almost completely unglued. So the durability of these shoes is not looking so hot. And that is in that area. Like, soon enough, I mean, all of these will pull off over time. But just letting that be known right now, that might be an issue. Another thing with the shoe is the tongue is that same like floating tongue. There's no gussets or anything. It's very similar to the Nano 11. It doesn't want to stay in place, and it's just not good. Okay, so now going back to the midsole of the shoe, which uses full length float ride. Unlike the Nano 11, which has a carrier foam on top of it, this one is all exposed float ride, and it's comfortable. It's like the Float Ride Energy running shoes. It's really, really soft and responsive, and it's actually pretty decent to lift in. I still was able to do pretty much all of my lifting in these without that much issue. Like, they're a little squishy, but they do okay. The outsole rises up in the medial and lateral sides to give you some rope protection, and I would say that these are actually pretty good rope climbing shoes. I've done like 20 rope climbs in this pair, and they look like I haven't done any rope climbs in them at all. There's hardly any wear on that medial guard, and it does catch the rope very well. So if you're looking for something to do like rope climbs in, do bodyweight workouts in, I think the Speed 21s are a pretty good option. I don't know what the drop is on these shoes, but I would say that's anywhere from 8 to 10. It's pretty high, like a running shoe. And then the insole is non-removable. It's got turn down stitching. So if you wanted to wear these without socks, you could probably do that and it would still be pretty comfortable, but it is not removable. And then the weight of these shoes is very light. I got them in at 9.6 ounces for a men's size 10. Okay, so when it comes to fit, I'm gonna say go with your normal training shoe size. I did get these in both a size 10 and a 9.5 just to see which one fit me better. And while I could use the 9.5, it was a little bit snug and my toes were running into the front. So I would recommend just going with your normal training shoe size. The toe is a little pointy, but I don't think that these are like narrow shoes at all. They're pretty wide in the midfoot. The toe box has a good amount of space. They are shaped like a running shoe, like with the pointed toe and everything. But like I said, I don't think that the toe box is cramped at all in these shoes. If anything, there's a little bit more space, which is really nice. If considering like the purpose of these shoes, like you're going to be doing a lot of running, jumping, bounding, like body weight movements. Other than that, I didn't feel like there was any heel slip. I felt like when I had all my laces on, the shoes felt secure on my feet. And overall, I think that these fit my feet just fine with my normal training shoe size. So obviously the reason why you would be looking into a shoe like this is because you were looking for something that was better to run in than Nanos. And I think that the Speed 21s do that really well. Running in these shoes is excellent. The Float Ride midsole is very comfortable. The shoe overall is very lightweight and flexible. And it still has a good amount of stability if you wanted a shoe, like a running shoe that had more stability. To be honest with you, I felt like these felt pretty similar to the Float Ride Energies, which are one of my go-to running shoes at the moment right now. They do retail for pretty much the same thing as those, but these ones do have a little bit more stability, mainly in the heel area than the Float Rides do. So if you're looking for a little bit more stable of a running shoe, I think these Speed 21s would fit the bill just fine. For plyometrics, I still thought that these were pretty good as well. Like I usually use like running shoes if the workout just calls for like plyometric movements, really light weights. But I think I would choose the 21s over the Float Rides nowadays, now that I have these, because I think that the extra little bit of stability helps for plyometric movements very well. Responsiveness is pretty good in these shoes. The Float Ride midsole, it's soft, but it's pretty responsive. And since these are a training shoe, you should still be able to lift in them. And I felt like I could lift the majority of the stuff that I was doing just fine. I didn't think that Olympic weightlifting was the greatest in these shoes. Like I always felt like I was pitched a little bit more forward, and the midsole was a little bit more dull than I would like for Olympic weightlifting. For powerlifting, I actually deadlifted like 631 pounds in these shoes on a trap bar, mind you. I don't think it would have been the same on like a conventional deadlift, but I did do that on the trap bar, and I felt like, yes, the midsole did compress a lot, but I still hit the lift. It was fine. Would I do it again? Probably not, but you know, when in a pinch, you could probably pick up some good weights in the 21s. With all that said, would I recommend the 21 TR? So when these first came out, they were at like $120. For $120, there's no way that I would recommend these shoes. Since then, they actually dropped these to $100. For $100, I think the 21 TRs are a pretty good deal. I don't think you can get any promotions on them right now, so they're pretty much going to be locked in at $100 for, you know, a while now. The durability on these is my main point of concern, because I mean, I wasn't even doing anything and the eyelet came undone. I was like walking around and then I noticed that the shoe was loose, and I looked down and, you know, lo and behold, the eyelet had come out. I don't know how my yellow ones are going to hold up over time. Hopefully these ones hold up better than the white ones. I mean, they're still perfectly usable. They're just a little bit loose around the ankle. If that doesn't bother you, then, you know, by all means, I think the 21 TRs are a pretty good deal at $100. But you can also look into the NanoFlex TRs, which are actually not too bad. They're a little bit more stiff than these. They're probably a little bit better for lifting because of that. They're not as comfortable. They're not as good for running than the 21 TRs. But I think, you know, for the prices that you can get the NanoFlexes, I think they're a pretty good deal. Like, for sometimes they go for like half off, and they're like $45 compared to, you know, the original $90 retail. And I think that's a pretty good deal. For $90, I probably wouldn't buy them, and then I'd probably go with the Speed 21s. So I think the Speed 21s are good if you like the way that they look. If you were looking for a, you know, lighter weight, just like more running focused training shoe that you could do some lighter lifts in, would I choose them over like Nanos? Probably not. I feel like running in Nanos is just fine. But if I was doing anything more than 5 miles, then I'd probably take the 21s. But I mean, if I'm doing anything more than 5 miles, I'm gonna take a running shoe. So these are a weird shoe. $100, I think they're okay. I think they're okay to try out, but you have to keep in mind that the durability of these is very questionable. So if you guys have any questions about the Reebok Speed 21 TRs, feel free to leave them in the comment section. And as always, guys, please hit that like button, subscribe, and thanks for watching.